first, KJP's SOS. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Another day, another liberal hawking a book, claiming to be disillusioned now by the Democrat Party. Now, this time, it's not just a lefty TV and print personality type claiming to be shocked by Biden's decline and the cover-up. It's the woman who helped the Biden White House sell its fiction day after day.
He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement and my experience with him.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him. There's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that.
No cover-up. But now, trying to cash in on her time at the podium, KJP claims to have had an epiphany of sorts, which led to her switch from being a Democrat to being an independent. And naturally, she posted something on Instagram with the predictable wind-up.
In an era of misinformation, disinformation, the regressiveness of social policy, what we're seeing currently right now, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done.
Disinformation, is that what she said? Again, this coming from a woman who for 2 years was actively misleading America on critical issues facing the country.
It would be wrong to think that the border is open. It is not open.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith.
As the president said earlier today, his unwavering focus is on continuing to lower costs for families, and that's going to be our focus. We're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, it's all disgraceful. And another question. Did she know anything about the auto pen? And how could she have possibly had no sense whatsoever, no sense at all about Biden's condition? No one is buying this. Oh, and I have a cliche alert.
And here's the truth, and here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. This book, Independent, it's about looking outside of boxes, not just always being in a partisan stance.
Oh, without that binder, she's lost. Wait, think outside the box? Never heard that line. That's so smart. And don't be so partisan? Again, those are hollow words coming from someone who never failed to be viciously partisan herself.
Unfortunately, we have seen MAGA Republican officials who don't believe in the rule of law. We are hearing from MAGA Republican officials, extreme Republican officials, who say that they are not going to accept this election is a threat to our democracy.
Now, in fact, her partisanship was so bad that a government watchdog found that she had violated the Hatch Act. She even received an official warning about that. So when you take away the woman's binder again, she's an empty pantsuit. Honestly, who cares that she's switching parties? It means nothing to anyone. It doesn't change anything. But we're supposed to believe that she was a committed Dem until she walked out of the White House on January 20th? That she had to think long and hard about this, as she said? Of course, had she had her reawakening while Biden was still in office, she'd be on slightly firmer ground here, slightly. At least then she would have been risking something professionally, but instead, she consistently just brushed off legitimate questions.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not. What we have provided has been very transparent.
Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia or degenerative illness that would cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question.
It's a no.
There are growing calls from Democrats, including members of Congress, for the president to step aside for the 2024 election because he's not capable of serving another 4 years. What is his response to this?
He knows how to do the job, not because he says it, because his record proves it.
Biden is A-OK, she said. But that was then, when she still held out hope that Biden's fixers could handle the situation and save his candidacy. But now she's a private citizen. Like many former press secretaries, she may want to join a television network or sit on corporate boards. And let's face it, she's a lot more attractive as a potential hire if she's a reasonable liberal than a former mouthpiece for a one-term president cast off by his own party. Now, look, some of the post hoc Biden critiques are very dishy. They have a few little zesty nuggets. But I personally just don't put a lot of stock in any of this. If Biden had not blown that debate, all of these people would have stuck with him, despite what they knew, and you know they knew. They were prepared to keep the fraud going as long as they possibly could. His family, his fellow Democrats, and yeah, the media. But then fast forward to today. After November shellacking and recent polls, Democrats are scrambling. They're sending up warning flares to alert the rest of the party. Stop being weird.
We're calling the Republicans weird, and we're the party that requires pronouns in your email signature.
We in the Democratic Party swung the pendulum too far to the left. We lost because of inflation and immigration. We saw a catastrophic mismanagement of the migrant crisis. The Biden administration had become ideologically captured by the far left.
Well, they're correct, but it's too little, too late, in my view. The party needs to moderate to attract young men and rural voters. No kidding. But the question right now is, can they? Well, don't ask Crockett, who had a chain reaction.
Every little hate that they spew, your way, my way, it is because they know that they see how beautiful we are inside and out. And we walk in that greatness every single day. If they could, they would throw me back in chains.
Yeah.
Somehow, those that came before us managed to break loose of the physical chains, even though we still have a bunch of systemic chains that we are still kind of wrangling with.
Systemic chains. Now, Kamala, you have competition in the word salad department. She might have won. Now, of course, it's true that some Democrats are searching for off-ramps, or I think it's better to say searching for lifeboats to escape the Titanic that their party has become. Because after 4 years of fraud and destruction, their brand's in the toilet. I think Democrats thought Americans were too stupid to believe their own eyes. We all saw. We saw what was happening. And the Angle documented it in excruciating detail. Biden stumbling and mumbling. We all knew it. In efforts to discount our concerns and attack us for raising them, that didn't just insult our intelligence, your intelligence. It helped keep the entire charade going. So whoever was doing Joe's job screwed things up royally for the country. Inflation spiked, of course, the Afghanistan withdrawal, gas prices way up, the flood of criminals, people on the terror watch list, indigents who crossed the border. We're talking decades of damage that we're going to have to deal with as a nation. So Americans don't need another insider telling them what they knew 3.5 years ago, especially an insider is intimately involved in selling the Biden lie day after day. Americans aren't going to forget this. Their built-in lie detectors are going off. Biden's first press secretary, Jen Psaki, is finding that it's pretty hard to find an audience on MSNBC. Why? Because, like her successor, she lies a lot.
I never saw that person, not a single time, and I was in the Oval Office every day, that was on that debate stage.
Then her CYA moment came.
I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that, or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right?
Well, aging happens quite quickly. But the lies weren't only about Biden's decline, but other things as well. She even had to edit out part of her book about Biden's watch check at Dover Air Force Base. And just like KJP, I think what happened was she maybe got so used to misrepresenting things that it became second nature to do so. She couldn't even get the story straight about the Biden family dog, Major. The truth bites, Jen. She and KJP had different styles, but the result was the same. They were both at the forefront of the Biden cover-up, and their credibility is in tatters. If Democrats are serious about an off-ramp to common sense, they should leave these people in the rear view. And that's The Angle.
There's a giant lawn party at the White House tonight. Nope, not Trump's birthday yet. This was the summer soiree. Think of a summer State of the Union minus Pelosi and the Panicans. Instead, 3,000 Trump staffers and a whole lot of Stephen Miller. And of course, 47.
We've never done this before, you know that, right? They didn't do it. The previous administration wouldn't have thought of doing it. But we're going to do it for 4 more years. I don't know, maybe 8 more years. 6 months ago, we had a nation that was as cold as ice. It was cold. The whole world was laughing at us. And they're not laughing anymore, that I can tell you now, because of the people here tonight. We have the hottest, most talked about country anywhere in the world.
The party was sponsored by McDonald's and Anheuser-Busch, which I guess means you and I, the taxpayers, we didn't pay for it. They did. The menu? Quarter pounders and beer. And the Navy band performing, quote, classic songs. The country deserves a soiree after what Biden did to it. Biden's last White House party, pride flags and trans flashers. Can't forget about Juneteenth, the night auto pen froze in front of the world. Washington's under renovation. Even if you're nasty, you still have a seat at the soiree.
If you're a reporter, a White House reporter in D.C., and you are going to be really adversarial and tough, but fair, on Trump, you get like snaps all across town. You get invited to like every single garden party and book party imaginable. But if you do it, with Biden or even with Obama, like there is like a different social like cost, and I do think it affects the reporting.
One exception: if you don't acknowledge the Gulf of America, you're out. Those are the rules. JD has another rule: don't be an ignorant academic.
There are politicians out there who they've just been politicians. You are someone who was an intellectual first. Some people don't like the word intellectual, but I mean it in the good sense of the term. You were writing for National Review.
I come here for free and you insult me and you call me an intellectual.
Remind
me that I wrote for National Review. What a this guy is.
But most people want in on the fun, even the ones you'd never suspect, like the Binder, the official mouthpiece of the Biden White House. Binder has some breaking news. She's transitioning and adopting new pronouns. She's indie.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. It's coming out on October 21st, so please, please do grab it. And the reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us?
Binder shopping for sweet potatoes at the grocery store, and customers are asking her about vulnerable communities. How about Binder, who controlled the auto pen? Did you know he had cancer? Did he really get lost in the closet? Binder spent 2 years lying from a podium, and now she wants to tell us the truth? Look at the name of the book, Inside a Broken White House. Now she's telling us the White House was broken. Wait a second. Who else wrote a book about this? Yeah, Tapper. Binder's now DEI Tapper. I wonder who got paid more. And there's nothing noble about this turncoat, remember?
Do you believe that the president is as sharp today as he was when he took this job? Have you seen any slowdowns?
What I can say is this is a president who is strong and resolute in delivering for the American people. That's what I see.
So he's as sharp as ever?
He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement and my experience with him.
Binder invented the word cheap fake. She told you this real video of Biden getting lost in an Italian field was fake. Now she's saying, yeah, my White House was broken and I'm switching parties. Hopefully she can write better than she talks, because DEI Tapper sounds a lot like Mamala.
I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. And the way that I see moving forward in this space that we're in right now is if you are willing to stand side by side with me, regardless of your how you identify politically, and as long as you respect the community that I belong to and vulnerable communities that I respect, I will be there with you. This book, Independent, it's about looking outside of boxes, not just always being in a partisan stance.
While Binder's gold digging for book deals, Democrats are rolling their eyes. One Democrat says Binder's book is the most grifty thing I've seen in a long time. And that's saying something in Washington. One former Biden White House official says she was the public face telling us all that this White House was on track and that Biden was amazing. And now she doesn't even want to be a Democrat. Here's what CNN said about DEI Tapper.
What bothers me about this, and I was making some phone calls before this to a number of former Biden administration officials and people in the White House, where they were saying this is just all an attempt to sell books. And that is what the general consensus is right now in the Democratic Party.
Whoa, wait a second. When Tapper's book came out, CNN was like, this book was brave. But Binder writes a carbon copy, and it's like, uh-oh, money grab, money grab. One Democrat insider tells Fox, the job market's really tough right now for Biden world, and I cannot begrudge anyone who needs to make a quick buck. Binder's been trying to get a TV deal, but let's be honest, that was never in the cards. After she left the administration, she tried to get a job co-hosting The View, but The View never called her back. Some people have better luck. Just ask Lloyd Austin. He's making some moves from the Pentagon to K Street. Lloyd's now a lobbyist. Others are getting slapped with subpoenas. Comer's having his own summer soiree, sending letters to top Biden aides who had a heavy hand in the cover-up. The Sly Five just got a formal invite to be deposed. And Joe's doctor, he's not off the hook either. The one who gave him more COVID tests than prostate exams. O'Connor and Comer, they're checking their calendars right now for a good date. Voters just want respect and the truth. Two things Democrats abandoned because the machine told them to. But instead of earning it back, they're trying to buy it back. They just dropped 20 mil on a study about men. The project's called Speaking with American Men, SAM. And guess what? SAM's led by a lady who works in the abortion industry and used to work for Media Matters and MoveOn.org. She specializes, are you ready, in gender and extremism projects. And here's what she found. Quote, Democrats are seen as weak, whereas Republicans are seen as strong. Young men also spoke of being invisible to the Democratic coalition. $20 million for that. Hulk Hogan told you that for free. And how are you supposed to get strong when your loudest leader's tampon? Next, they asked, do Democrats know what a man is? Quote, the focus groups found that young men feel they are in crisis, stressed, ashamed, and confused over what it means to be a man in 25. They vented about conflicting cultural messages of masculinity that put them in a no-win situation around the meaning of a man. So this was the men of the focus group, men who were confused about what it means to be a man, and men who are ashamed of being a man. And they found a Hispanic guy in Vegas who, shocker, doesn't love Lady Gaga. Quote, a Latino man from Las Vegas said that during the 24 campaign, Harris focused on, oh, I got Beyonce on stage with me. Oh, I got Lady Gaga on stage. And it just kind of felt like, what does that have to do with me? I'm trying to move up in life. Trump's over here like, if we're able to get a surplus in our budget, then we're going to have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Men aren't $1 million science experiment. They're studying us like we're space aliens. And just because you grow a beard and make a podcast doesn't make Democrat men manlier. It kind of makes you look like you're going undercover. And speaking of undercover, was Binder undercover this whole time? Former White House officials say Binder would joke about being an independent while she was in the administration. That tracks because she left the White House on Jan 20th and wrote a 300-page book in 4 months. Now, I've written 2 books. It's impossible unless you've been writing it for a long time. No wonder she was so bad at briefing. She was unprepared because she was busy writing this backstabbing book. The two big DEI picks Biden made, Kamala and Binder, blew up in his face. DEI hand grenades. Kaboom.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we start with this Fox News alert. Moments ago, President Trump issuing a full and partial travel ban from 19 countries, including Yemen, Iran, and Somalia. We have full details straight ahead, but tonight, buckle up. We've got a busy show. In moments, the Deputy Director of the FBI, our friend Dan Bongino, he will join us with an exclusive look into the absolute unmitigated mess that Joe Biden left this country in when he left office. We have known terrorists. We have Iranian assassination squads. We have rapists. We have murderers. We have cartel members. We have gang members, drug dealers, all in this country. We all need answers. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Attorney General Pam Bondi, they apparently not only inherited a difficult job, but far worse than any of us knew, apparently. We'll get the details tonight. Progress, thankfully, is being made. We'll have more on that straight ahead. Plus, Senator Kennedy has a message for the far-left law professor that went before his committee. Take a look.
And you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court? Gag me with a spoon.
We got that full exchange coming up. And huge news from Karine Jean-Pierre. She's leaving the Democratic Party in an apparent PR stunt to sell her book. It's not working if you look on Amazon. Take a look.
The number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me. And this is my answer.
Now, if her book is anything like her time as Biden's very own Baghdad Bob, well, it will be poorly written and probably full of lies. But we begin with a much more important matter and important news tonight. That is the weaponized, politicized Justice Department that President Trump inherited, a country that is not safe and secure, a Defense Department that needs massive reform and the elimination of woke and the next generation of weaponry. But under Biden, the DOJ, the FBI became an enforcement arm of the Democratic Party. The red flags were everywhere. And now it is up to Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi to get to the bottom of what is a massively long list of corruption. This includes the unprecedented witch hunts against Donald Trump, the raid of his home. They didn't raid Hillary's home. They didn't raid Joe's home. FISA abuse with the dirty Russian disinformation dossier, the national security probe into angry parents at school board meetings, the targeting of traditional Catholics who are labeled as domestic terrorists by Joe Biden's FBI. And let's not forget about the obsessive and heavy-handed January 6 prosecutors, including some who just walked in and walked out of the Capitol building, apparently. The same people, by the way, on the left, they ignored 574 riots. They said it was the summer of love in the summer of 2020. Kamala Harris, those rioters won't stop. They shouldn't stop. And by the way, we won't stop supporting them. We had 24 dead. We had 1,000 cops injured and billions in property damage. No investigation, no outrage. Equally disturbing, the lack of prosecutions, light sentences for violent rioters on the left. They have all this videotape they could have used to find them. They're on video, burning places down, throwing rocks at cops and bricks and bottles and Molotov cocktails, including extremists that were dressed up like terrorists, openly threatening Jewish people and wrecking college campuses. And while the Biden administration proudly labeled so-called right-wing extremism as the existential and biggest threat to democracy in America, left-wing extremists, they went unchecked, including the illegal immigrant terrorists who were lighting Jewish people on fire, as we watched this weekend in Boulder, Colorado. As we have predicted on this show, the ultra-lax enforcement of our immigration laws under Biden is a ticking time bomb. I keep saying it's not if, it's when, but I pray to God I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. The new leadership at the FBI, they are working overtime to locate and arrest terrorists, rapists, murderers, cartel members, gang members. In fact, so far, look at this. The FBI has spent over 1 million manpower hours investigating, apprehending criminal aliens since Donald Trump took office, especially those involved in the drug trade, human trafficking. Now, here's what they inherited. Let me go through it slowly. We have in our country, in your country, known terrorists, we don't know where they are. Cartel members, we don't know where they are. And by the way, Iranian assassination squads, and we don't know how to find them yet either. And gang members, and murderers, and rapists, other violent criminals, and drug dealers, cartel members, all in our country right now. I know there are also other very important issues. The president, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, they promised to get to the bottom of all of it. The Epstein files, RFK, JFK, MLK files. Every one of these things is important. I personally want answers. We have been promised they would be forthcoming, and I believe they will be. But the first priority has got to be national security, the crisis left behind by Joe Biden, the most preventable national security disaster in our history. Tonight, we are seeing the results. Murder is way down in almost every major city in the U.S. The border is almost 100% secure. As you can see, the new leadership at the FBI does not have an easy job. Again, they inherited an absolute unmitigated disaster, and to make matters worse, navigating the hyper-partisan anti-Trump bureau, that is no easy task.
See, kill me, that's the opposite of booing. Happy Wednesday, everyone. So, big news. Karine Jean-Pierre says she's leaving the Democratic Party.
Bye.
I don't blame her. How could she trust the people dumb enough to hire her? Greta Thunberg posted pictures of herself having fun as her sailboat nears Gaza. Sailing experts and non-experts alike criticized the photo, saying she should be wearing a helmet. Filmmaker Michael Moore is proposing a new Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. Wants a new Pledge of Allegiance for those who oppose President Trump. It includes a few new phrases and ends with liberty and justice for Arby's. He looks like he ate Michael Moore. The White House is celebrating as plummeting murder rates dip below pre-COVID numbers. Yeah, thank you. Well, I guess that means you-know-who is taking some time off. Amazing story. Scientists injected 40,000-year-old Neanderthal DNA into mice, resulting in very unexpected changes. They died. A record 37.5 million metric tons of seaweed was detected in the Atlantic. I believe we have a picture. We're not even trying anymore, are we?
If it ain't broke,
yeah.
it ain't broke.
According to MSNBC, Democrats should try to win over men by reaching out to guys at the gym. Well, I call dibs in the steam room, said one man. A man who slept in his car was arrested for breaking into a woman's home and licking her toes while she was sleeping. I know, gross. Sleeping in your car. And finally, Sesame Street announced they're wishing everyone a happy Pride Month. To celebrate, Cookie Monster is now only eating snickerdoodles that taste like ass. So young men have abandoned the Dems, and MSNBC thinks they have a solution: hit the gym. Well, I tell them to head to Gold, but I know how they feel about The column reads, quote, "The sweat of your brow is all that stands between you and success." It's an understandable, even healthy impulse, and Democrats would do well to start rebuilding their political muscle, quite literally, by seeking to identify with the guy at the gym. So fitness is acceptable now. A few years ago, the left said exercise was racist. Hell, if that's the case, my glutes make me the grand wizard of the KKK. True, I like to CrossFit. But only Democrats could politicize sit-ups. And now they find gym attendance understandable, even healthy, as if somehow that fact was in question. Next, they're going to tell us that bathing keeps you from getting mean looks in the elevator. And so now the Dems see the gym as worthy, but not as physical self-improvement, but as a political tool to probe these weird buffed creatures at the gym. Of course, this illustrates the general misery of the Democrat Party. They don't understand why anyone would go to the gym. But if I don't go, I get depressed. A direct cause and effect. I mean, what's a great career and the admiration of millions mean without my six-pack abs?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. That picture was taken tomorrow. Dems, though, immersed in their world of something for nothing, can't believe people actually put in hard work for a result that comes later. Nope, instead, if you want something, the government will provide. And if someone else has something you want, just take it. But for the Dems, that's the problem with fitness. It's hard to loot. You can't steal it. Weights are heavy. And muscle, you got to make it yourself. Sadly, there's no such thing as fitness reparations, where a woke weakling can demand a muscle transplant from yours truly. No, you have to put the hard work in for a long-term goal, not whine like a baby until people start calling you a hero. This may be why Dems are so depressed. Exercise improves your health and your appearance, which they avoid, believing it's an activity that steals valuable time from shouting at Jews or keying Teslas. Instead, you should burn calories curling Molotov cocktails and squatting in homes. And the only deadlift they did was supporting Joe. Thank you. Yeah. But we know that you feel great after a workout just as you feel awful after pounding a sack of donuts. Are the Dems even close to recognizing this? Well, one think tank, Searchlight, is trying to, quote, push the Democratic Party toward the most effective, broadly popular positions and create a space where Dems can think freely and put those ideas into the world. Meaning they want to mirror Republicans without it being authentic. It's like pretending it's your birthday to get free cake. It's why Joey Behar's staff thinks she's 247. They want the results without doing the heavy lifting. No wonder they hate the gym. But amazingly, one consultant calls for a complete rejection of identity politics. Wow, where have you heard that? Why don't they just watch Gutfeld? Everyone else is. Yeah, thank you. We told you 10 years ago that identity politics will be as dead on arrival as those lizards I tried to ship through the post office. Now, I hope the Dems heed that advice, but it's going to be tough. It's like asking the cast of The View to give up stretch pants. Identity is ingrained in all their actions, and it's a miserable filter, for it's based on resentment, making you as bitter as the coffee pot that I pee in over at Fox and Friends. Oh, no. But you know what? We use a different filter, one that's rooted in reality. It's why we don't need a think tank to make sense of the world. We already know not to let murderers into the country and men into women's bathrooms. We keep it simple. See, we understand life is difficult enough already without starting the day with a massive chip on your shoulder. And that's a weight we refuse to carry. We save that energy for the gym. Let's welcome tonight's guest. They call him Duraflame because his books end up in the fireplace.
That is
Fox and Friends co-host and host of One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. As was a baby. His first words were Sean Hannity, GOP Youth Advisory Council co-chair C.J. Pearson. She's interviewed all the rockers and has a great pair of glasses. Host of Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. And old ladies call him the denture whisperer. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyrus. Brian, you're a man's man. You're tough, you're virile, you're good looking. How could the Dems could have connected with you? See with that? I complimented.
Very good.
I'm trying a new strategy.
We're waiting.
I'm sorry, I thought this was Gutfeld. I mean, wait, are you kidding me? I've never had. I would say this. This is so backwards. Dems say, I want to get men, I want to get younger men, I want to win them over, so I'm going to go find them. I want to find the next Joe Rogan. I want to find the next Greg Gutfeld. Where do I go to do that? What happens is, no one found Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan was Joe Rogan, looked and made his own judgment. Went to the gym in his case. Most cases, you want to have control of your life, so you go to the gym. So Dems want to go mimic that, but there's nothing authentic about it. You got to be real. You got to be yourself. The one thing about Trump, he's himself. Always. Is he a conservative? Sometimes. Is he open to ideas? Yes, sometimes. But what he wants to do is be successful. And what Dems want to do is get votes. Just be yourself. That's why you end up with Tim Walz pretending to fix a car and pretending to go hunting. It's not real.
You know, it just struck me. Donald Trump, I believe, has never gone to a gym.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said don't even bring up working out. I asked him one time, are you thinking about working? He goes, don't even bring that up.
Yeah, that's right.
he works out on the golf course.
Right.
Yeah, he works out on the golf course, yeah.
Yeah, walks to the cart and goes to the next hole.
Also, signing executive orders gave him a big bicep.
Exactly. But, hey, look, it's working for him. He's doing great. 78 years old, on your miles in.
All right, enough brown-nosing. CJ, the fact that they needed consultants is underlying Brian's point, that they don't know what to think.
You know, it's absolutely embarrassing. They're spending $20 billion in an attempt to appeal to young men. They might as well set it on fire, because let's just address the elephant in the room. The only young men that these Democrats are appealing to today are young men who think they're women, like Dylan Mulvaney. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. And it's not surprising when the face of their party is David Hogg, who I have had ex-girlfriends with bigger biceps than, right? So, it's not surprising that when you look at this party that has spent the last several years demonizing men for striving to simply just be men, for being protectors, for being providers, this is why young men are running away from them. Personally, I'm shocked that they're shocked. We want nothing to do with them.
Kennedy. When you're looking for men, do you go to the gym?
Oh, yeah, when I'm not down at the pier. Woo!
Yeah, the pier. What time are you usually around the pier?
Well, they usually kick me out around 5 a.m. You know, every
you bring
week
home a good haul, don't you?
Sure do. That's why they call me the USO, and every week is Fleet Week in my house. That's it. I know. Tyrus is he's so disappointed. So I was thinking, like, what are they going to do? Because they're sitting around going, maybe we should just run Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
He's out of prison. Like, the guys like him, right? And they're like, what do guys like? They like big boobs, so let's just send some ring girls to the gym with giant cards which say things like, let's all vote for the Green New Deal. And those are the ideas that they're running up against. And it's so clumsy and annoying. I mean, can you imagine a liberal coming up to you at the gym, like, lifting 5 pounds, like, whew, really feeling the burn, huh? Like Bernie Sanders, that's my kind of guy.
Hey, you don't mind if I work in with you, equity and all that. Mind if I spot you? Yeah. Tyrus, it is kind of funny that they can't rely on men in their own party. They had to go outside. Why do you think that is? They're henpecked.
Because their alpha is Swalwell.
Yeah.
You say that name wrong.
Yeah.
During Pride Week.
People get a little bit excited.
Be some misreads going on, and this infuriates me, Greg. I'm upset because the gym is the men's church.
Yes.
Okay? Like, we don't have preachers. You don't discuss. You don't talk to a man when he's lifting. We wear headphones. We're in our own world. If you interrupt, if you pulled on my headphones and said, I'd like to talk to you about the Democratic Party, that'd be like that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You do not, we excommunicate chatty caddies in the gym.
That's true.
Gym is there to do work. If 100 gorillas came in and my workout interrupted, then I'd take 99 of them and murder them. I'd leave one left so you can go tell the others the story so they won't come back to my gym.
You know, I just want to add, we don't condone the senseless murder of primates.
They had to come in, they interrupted the workout. It's a sacred place.
Peter, send your letters to that man over there. All right. Up next, yet another reason the Washington Post sucks.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.